Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. A couple of years ago, I attended my first ever metal festival at Bloodstock. And while there, I got to interview some awesome singers. One of those singers was Old Drake, the lead singer of Evile. And since then, I've watched him regularly perform on some rather impressive live streams on Twitch. And I've been eagerly awaiting their new single, The Unknown. I looked these lyrics over ahead of time, and they have some amazing themes, which I think are really going to hit home, especially with me. So let's get to it. Ooh.
I await and fear the unknown. I await and fear the unknown. I await and fear the unknown. I await.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna go back immediately. I love the droning feeling and all of these layers he's put into his vocals here. It feels like a metal monk. It's such a good sound.
I await and fear the unknown. I await and fear the unknown.
Why there's so much droning?
I await and fear the unknown. I await.
Wow. Hey.
See the life conceived awaiting.
This is awesome. There's a couple of things that I think you should know about Old Drake right away. First of all, he's a father, and this song is about that moment of becoming a father. And the words "I await and fear the unknown" is referring to that responsibility when you find out you're about to become a parent. And I hardcore relate to that. I was like, wow, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a parent. This child is going to look up to me their entire lives. I am responsible for shaping an entire human being. That's amazing. Amazing. It's beautiful. And I also love that he's essentially touched on just that weightiness. So I really appreciate that. So another thing that I think is really important to know is he really loves Frank Sinatra, which he likes to sing with Frank Sinatra, like vocal warm-ups. And I think it's so cool and so smart because you can hear he's got a really healthy vocal tone that is just that established foundation of his singing. I think that's super important because he's essentially going towards like a James Hetfield kind of sound, a sound that is much more sustained but has an aggressive edge. If you're going to sustain a sound for a long time in the first place, you need to be doing that well. But if you're going to add that aggressive edge to it, you really risk having some vocal damage. So what better way than to, do some counter training with Frank Sinatra? That's brilliant. Okay, I'm going to go back to here-ish. Even the offset there really reminds me of James Hetfield. He does like a harsh grab at the end. Right there.
Unborn a seed, a life conceived awaiting. She'll meet our world pursuing harmony.
Ooh.
But with her gaze, will she see someone prepared? The die is cast, pure blood hand unto me. She'll need a hand to grasp, can I believe? Father, be there.
Wow. This is awesome. The sustained power behind it. That is, again, is super tough. And I appreciate that he has to be using so many muscles that are underneath here to be able to support this sound. That is definitely not easy. If you bring in power and you keep that going and going and going, it's actually more taxing as it goes on. If you're just able to hit like a couple of powerful short notes, like those are just blasts of energy. But imagine like every single millisecond that is going to continue on. You have to keep that breath pressure the same here. As the breath goes out, the lungs naturally want to collapse. And in order to properly support that, you need to actually fight against that collapse. So as it goes on, sustaining it actually becomes harder. Wow, it's like, this is like a ballad, kind of? It's walking a line.
But with her gaze, will she see someone prepared? The die is cast, pure blood hand unto me. She'll need a hand to grasp, can I believe? Father, be there.
I like the depth in his tone right there.
Deep down I tremble, at surface smile. Will I resemble? Sworn to protect now, who grows inside. Be now my teacher, be now my guide.
I think that's so interesting. Be now my teacher, be now my guide. Like we've got some words that are just laden with traditions and time that, it hits home. It's like when you become a parent, you realize, wow, I suddenly understand so many things in the world and history in a different way. And how could I have not understood those more thoroughly before? But you can't until you're a parent. I guess some people can get close to it, maybe with many, many years of life. I didn't understand it until I was a parent. I want to go back here. One of the things I'm liking instrumentally is they have this continual riff down below that keeps playing underneath the music. It's something that I can hook into. And then every now and then they have these like really wide harmonic shifts and then they come back to that riff. It's like that is our home center for this song.
Deep down I tremble, at surface smile. Will I resemble? Sworn to protect now, who grows inside. Be now my teacher, be now my guide. Fear the unknown, serenity, deceased by clouded reason.
This switch again from having this huge sustained sound to something that is much more clean. And I think it's really interesting the way when he goes to his cleans, it's like you hear influences. I definitely hear lots of James Hetfield, but I also hear like grungy influences at times because he's keeping his mouth fairly closed. He leans into R-colored vowels quite a bit. And at the same time, it's not, not as heavily influenced into grunge as like a Chris Cornell. It's not quite there, but there's definitely elements of it. The fascinating thing to me is how much he opens his mouth for those much more harsh attacks where he's adding tons and tons of distortion into these really long sustained things. And then it feels like it becomes more intimate, even though it has this droning sensation underneath. It's like what I called him a metal monk earlier. This time it feels like I have an intimate metal monk. It's awesome.
Serenity. Fear the unknown. Serenity.
That's a cool. I hadn't noticed that before. The production end on that sound is really great.
Fear the unknown. Serenity.
Whoa. That is so cool. Ah. It's like, it almost has like another bite. Like I talked before about that bite that he had as an offset. It's like that got spread into both sides really sharply, and then it clears to make way for this lower melody.
Fear the unknown. Serenity. Deceased by clouded reason. Will damaged ways pass on to who you'll be. Stained in my mind. Will I feel nothing replaced?
That's a huge jump.
Fraud, rejected I would be. She needs my open arms. Can I believe? Father, be
there. Nice job. Nice. Oh, that was a really good high note. I love the way that top note had it sounded like it just blew off a lid and suddenly became extremely free. A lot of the things that have aggression in them, they've got this constraint necessary for the aggressive sound. And then it almost like the whole sound just went like this and like opened up, just expanding into the top. Oh, it's cool.
Rejected I would be. She needs my open arms. Can I believe? Father, be there.
That's such a sweet moment too. Father, be there.
Arms, can I believe? Father, be there.
Nice.
Deep down I tremble and surface smile. Will I resemble what's left behind? Sworn to protect now who grows inside. Be now my teacher, be now my guide. Fear the unknown.
Oh, ooh, whoa.
Who grows inside. Be now my teacher, be now my guide. Fear the unknown.
It's so fascinating how there's that bend, the pitch bend there underneath in the instruments, and then you have known. It almost feels like the bend reflects the diphthong and the sound. They affect each other in a really cool way.
Be now my guide. Fear the unknown.
And then it like rushes to land.
Now my guide. Fear the unknown.
Whoa.
My flesh and blood. Pull me out of
Oh
this.
my gosh. Oh. The bends are insane. And I love the way that we've got like multiple bends happening at the same time. And the way he's chewing through his enunciation is really cool. I wonder if we get some of that enunciation from Frank Sinatra, actually. It'd be interesting. I also need to shout out because there are some really, really large leaps that he's doing in here, and he's sustaining really long lines, both low and high. It takes a different kind of support to sustain low from high. Both need to be supported, but lower notes actually need less air, and so you often end up pouring more air into them, whereas higher notes need more energy, and he's doing both very well.
Teacher, be now my guide. Fear the unknown.
I love that bend.
My flesh and blood. Pull me out of this blood.
This is my favorite part so far.
I will be there. I will be there.
I feel like it's just so gutsy and how much bending is happening in multiple areas. It's also the slides being really slow. It's so fascinating. I definitely hear tons of James Hetfield in his voice.
Pull me out of
Ah.
for I will be there.
Oh my god.
I will
In different directions with the slides. Oh, that's sweet. I just have to talk about the band here because there's a fun little bit. You have Ben Carter, who's on the drums and has been there since 2004, since the origination of Evile. And you have Joel Graham and Adam Smith as well. I think it's very interesting that that you have people who have been in and out of this band a whole bunch, and this lineup has shifted a bunch. Yet they have still stayed together for a really long time, since 2004. Kudos to them. It's just tough to sustain it that long, I think, especially when they're not getting the recognition that they deserve. And I really hope that it's going to see a massive explosion in appreciation soon, because I think that they deserve a lot more notice. I'm going to go back. I think they are so good at messing with pitch bends and exploiting half steps. There are tons of half steps that are added in to be super dissonant, but they're not doing it so much that the half steps feel normal. Instead, they do it just enough to make you realize, oh, I lost my appreciation for how good a half step is before they add another one back in there. It's very, very smart. It makes it feel fearful and apprehensive. And those pitch bends are doing the same thing, but in a different way. So lots of apprehension. Those parallel harmonies are fascinating, and it comes back again to that sort of monk-like droning that we heard before. Parallel harmonies like that, that's not super common in, at least in, like, I would say the more standard ideas of how music should be composed. It tends to be a more ancient idea, though I have heard this brought into metal on occasion. It tends to be something that reflects a much earlier time of music theory, though, and you add that to the drony monk sound from before, and the sound of this song becomes timeless. I like the highlight of this part. It's a good sound of the guitar.
I will be there in the unknown.
Oh, I will be there. I used to think that metal was all about like black leather and spikes and spiky people, and it's so not true. I think that metalheads tend to be very fuzzy and warm, and it's songs like this that make you go, oh yeah, we're all human. Like, this is a song about being a parent, yet it expresses that in a way that is just so metal. Right? You have the aggression in the sound that is great at expressing that anxiety and the fear. And then you have the depth in the sound that reflects the depth of the emotions. It's a really beautiful thing. And I'm really happy that I got to experience my first ever metal festival at Bloodstock. I'm going to be going again this year. I hope to see many of you there. And if you want to get a recap on what that first festival was like, you can check out this playlist over here. May you fall more in love with music every day.